what? I didn't need ass. Ooh, ooh. No laziness for you to go. Fucking so shit. It's like I didn't even bark that much. Just like my liver just. But still, and just. Regular show. Hey, look, it's Mordecai and Rigby.
Hey.
Let me show you the results of my training.
Listen to me and keep moving. An enemy squad is attacking the village right now. Yamato's defending with gates he's created using wood style, but there are just too many enemies. You need to guard the gates with your life. They don't get inside the village. Enemy reinforcements. Let's finish this. They just keep coming.
It's not going to tell you what happens when she gets there, but it's a real departure for people, right? Their father, makes sense. Is calling her client on telephone and she's not responding. She's missed her appointment. Now she's starting to worry. At the end of that, she's been called a dirty name of the neighbor above and she doesn't quite understand it, so she's pulled it up on the Google Translate. In some ways it's a mystery, in some ways it's a thriller, in some ways it's a romantic comedy. Quite a lot of drama. All of those things combined, which I love about auteur French filmmaking, is that you don't have to make these very generic decisions about what kind of
They're retreating.
Bill Steiner visits the office of her ex-husband, who happens to be an eye doctor. We come to understand it's a very long time since they haven't spoken for many, many, many years. Because they
What would be your biggest challenge in a job like this?
I shop here a lot, and I feel like I should have it all. Take it all home, eat it up, figure out my hours. Just feel like give it to me.
Such a good answer.
What's a booster? Somebody selling at discount price? It's like community service. I call it AAA. Fashion forward philanthropy. I know how to spell philanthropy. Branding, though. Together, we empty out every single metro designer in the Bay Area. Don't be getting hair boosting from my stores. House wigs.
Here's a fun modding fact about Xenoverse 2. Did you know that you can re-enable the ability to stay transformed as a Super Saiyan in any cutscene? Back in Xenoverse 1, if your character was transformed before entering a cutscene, they would stay transformed throughout the duration of the cutscene. This will lead to some really cool scenes, especially towards the end of the game. Now, in Xenoverse 2, if you try to do this, the game will just revert your character back to base. The reason for this is actually not because of the Saiyans, but because of basically everyone else. See, the Mechians, Majins, and those dastardly humans have forms that, let's just say, wouldn't look right in an animated cutscene. So the devs just decided to remove this because, well, yeah. But thanks to the Xenoverse 2 patch, you can actually re-enable this feature by toggling this command to true. So now you can live out all your fully transformed fantasies. Alright, let's see what happens when you get to a cutscene in a giant form. Okay, yeah, maybe we're moving it for the best. Here's a fun modding fact about Xenoverse 2. Did you?
When I first started talking with Skip,
If you're curious about the price of an item, just scan it for the app. Get more of what you love in the Walmart app.
family and was to be banished by King Vegeta to planet Vampa, a desolate world that would surely result in the child's demise. However, the child's father, Paragus, was quick to find out about his son's exile, which allowed him to reroute the ship to planet Earth before it left. A much safer world that Broly could live on without the fear of death. The same could not be said for Paragus, though. His actions were taken as acts of treachery, and he was to be executed for his crime. King Vegeta asks if there's any way to track the ship, and his technicians say the ship seems to be headed for a worthless planet called Earth. King Vegeta is visibly angry, but there's no point to dwell on it. With Broly off-world, he wouldn't be a threat to the royal family. Eventually, Broly lands in the forests of Mount Paozu, where an old hermit named Son Gohan finds him and takes him in as his own. The landing was rough and caused Broly to hit his head. He remembers nothing of the Saiyans, nor is he as aggressive as he would be otherwise. However, one morning, Broly wakes up a bit too early. The moon is still in the sky, and he looks at it, transforming into the mighty Ozaru. Luckily for Grandpa Gohan, the moon would soon set and return Broly to normal. Notably, Broly's resting power level is 920, meaning his Ozaru form would be 9,200. Luckily, he didn't destroy Vampa in the original timeline when in his Ozaru form, so he probably wouldn't destroy Earth either. Despite Grandpa Gohan warning Broly to avoid the full moon, another accident would happen, and this time, Grandpa Gohan won't make it out alive. This all happens before Goku is even born, as Dragon Ball Super's Broly is 5 years older than Goku. So 5 years have passed since Broly was sent to Earth, and back on planet Vegeta, all the Saiyans were called to return to the planet at once, resulting in the largest gathering of Saiyans in years. This made Bardock extremely suspicious, however, Guinea put Bardock's suspicions to rest, causing him to give up on sending Goku away. Unfortunately for them, it wouldn't be long before Bardock was shown to be right, and despite his best efforts to rebel, he gets destroyed with the rest of the Saiyans. Goku never becomes Goku. He dies as he was born, Kakarot. Years pass until Bulma finds a 17-year-old Broly alone in the mountains with nothing but a small home and a Dragon Ball. At 17 years old, he's basically fully grown, much like Goku, who is slightly shorter than his full height at 18. Also, his in-universe name is Goku, but for the sake of simplicity, I'll be calling him Broly in the narration, but just know his name would be Goku in the story. From here, things play out the same for the most part. When they save Turtle and meet Roshi, Broly receives the Kinto-Un, Flying Nimbus in the dub, and Bulma acquires the Dragon Ball. We don't have to talk about that anymore. Broly is rejoiced to find someone who is close with his grandfather, and he says he will train with him after they finish collecting the Dragon Balls. Roshi says he'll prepare for the occasion and sets off into the ocean with Turtle, heading back to Kame House. From here, the notable difference from the original is Broly. He's far stronger than Goku and far quicker to kill in order to protect someone, so people like Oolong and Yamcha are killed immediately. This doesn't happen before Yamcha could chop off Broly's tail, though, something he considers his last act of defiance in the face of someone far more powerful than himself. Next is the journey to Fire Mountain, where we meet Ox King and Chi-Chi. They plead to have their castle saved, and Broly throws a powerful punch to blow the fire out without requiring Master Roshi's help. This display of power is extremely impactful on Chi-Chi, who has a newfound interest in Broly, but not in the way you'd expect. That doesn't matter for now, as our heroes continue their journey, leaving the king and princess behind. Now it's time for Pilaf's castle, where Bulma and Broly are trapped with the sleeping gas. Broly's punches are far stronger than Goku's Kamehameha was in the original, allowing them to escape their imprisonment and stop Pilaf from getting his wish. The Pilaf gang make their escape, and Broly is about to go after them, but Bulma tells Broly to let them go. They already have the Dragon Balls. Bulma summons Shenron and wishes for the love of her life to be brought to her, but Shenron says he can't do that. The being who is to become the love of her life is far too powerful and cannot be transported against their will. He apologizes and asks if she has another wish. Bulma storms away in a rage, and Broly innocently asks Shenron if he could give him the 4-star Dragon Ball back, but once again, Shenron says he can't, as the Dragon Balls must scatter after a wish is made. Broly is upset at Bulma for not telling him this, and with a little fear and remorse, she chooses to avoid all responsibility and wishes for Shenron to send her home. Her wish is granted before Broly could get too angry with her. With Bulma gone, Broly is back to square one. No, worse than square one. He's alone, nowhere near his home, and with no Dragon Ball to give him the comfort of his grandfather. But that's when it hits him, his grandfather. Broly remembers that the Turtle Hermit said that he knew his grandfather and offered to train him, so Broly gets on the Flying Nimbus and heads the direction Roshi left, with Turtle on the beach, eventually coming across Roshi's island and Kame House. This is where one final change occurs in the story. Let's often look at the history of Igor and Halo dealing with the bullying of his seniors rather than going off on a perilous journey to some unknown island to train with a man who may only be around. This doesn't mean that Broly will train alone though, because Chi-Chi joins him on the island, being told about Master Roshi by her father who trained with Grandpa Gohan years ago. This was the interest Chi-Chi took in Broly. After seeing what he was capable of on Fire Mountain, she sought to grow stronger. Roshi accepts both with open arms, excited to see what the future of martial arts can bring, and as a favor to his disciples from so long ago. So training begins, and it's immediately clear to Roshi that his normal training would be far too easy for Broly, so he increases the weight of Broly's shell and continues to increase it daily in order to make it somewhat of a challenge for him. Roshi himself even partakes in an secret training while he has turtle monitors two students. If he wants to keep Broly interested in martial arts, he has to show him that not everyone is far below his power. After 8 months, the Tenkaichi Yokai is here, and Roshi enters under the alias of Jackie Chun, while Chi-Chi and Broly enter under their own names, of course. All three easily make their way through the tournament, with the only challenges being each other. Due to his secret training, Roshi is able to take out Chi-Chi in the semifinals, leaving the final match as Broly versus Jackie Chun. With no tail, Broly doesn't transform into a Nozaru, but Roshi is still forced to use his buff form in order to keep up with Broly at all. The two fight it out until eventually Roshi's stamina gives in and Broly secures his first tournament win. After the tournament, Broly finds Bulma again. The two do make amends that Bulma is profusely sorry for how she treated Broly and happily gives him the Dragon Radar to go and collect his grandfather's four-star ball. From here, the Red Ribbon Army arc is basically just easy mode due to Broly being completely overpowered to just take any fight Goku had trouble with and say that there wasn't an issue with this version. Tao Pai Pai still manages to kill Upa's father, Bora, but the assassin is immediately killed afterwards by Broly, who is just innately stronger than him without requiring special training. This leads to Broly wanting all the Dragon Balls so he can revive Bora, so he takes on the rest of the army with no issues, and this leads him to Fortune Teller Baba, where he has to compete in her tournament. Broly takes on all of her combatants by himself, eventually leading to his reunion with Grandpa Gohan. This moment is heartfelt and full of emotion. Grandpa Gohan spends his remaining time chatting with Broly and asking him what has happened since his death, and Broly just tells him everything. After hearing about Roshi in the tournament, Grandpa Gohan tells Broly to travel the world for the next 3 years to gain more power and mastery. Once 3 years pass, he should return to hold his title at the tournament. Broly agrees, and as he does, it's Grandpa Gohan's time to return to heaven. Soon they say their goodbyes and part ways. Broly retrieves the final Dragon Ball and makes the wish to...
Fire style! Majestic destroyer flame!
You fell for it.
Fire style! Majestic destroyer flame! Fire style! Majestic
I would never, ever in my life play online again. Why would I? The only thing we get is a bunch of garbage rewards. Back to back to back. We don't get no so why would I bother playing online?
You got this. It's just
Why should I?
how scary can it be? You can do hard things.
Honey,
Why?
relax. It's mere
So
relax.
maggots
It
can
works with the water in
teabag
your
me?
body to hydrate and soften
Yeah,
for gentle
not
growth.
interested. I just want to get my revenge.
It's me, Alex. His father. With speed far greater than Goku's, he catches all 7 of the balls before they can fly away. Broly then takes the balls with him on his journey around the world. Broly arrives at the tournament 3 years later, now 20 years old and fully grown, and is wearing a Turtle School uniform that he had gotten made for him on his journey. This tournament is once again a joke, and Ten Shinhan is beaten so badly that he goes on to wander the world in search of new ways to grow stronger that are outside of traditional training. Perhaps he even climbs a certain tower to meet with a certain Grand Master. After the tournament, Roshi and a notably taller Chi-Chi congratulate him on another victory. Broly forgets his stuff in the tournament building, so Chi-Chi goes back to get it for him, only to be ambushed and killed by Tambourine, who was after the Dragon Balls Broly had in his possession. After realizing that Chi-Chi was taking way too long, Broly goes back to the arena and finds Chi-Chi's lifeless body on the ground. He begins to enrage. He asks the tournament announcer who did this, and all he can do is point in the direction the monster who did it flew off in. With no dragon radar due to it being stolen as well, Broly gets ready to fly in that direction, but not before painfully transforming into his Ikari form. Without even thinking, Broly figures out how to fly on the spot and chases Tambourine, only to find him behind a tall man who has just made a wish on the Dragon Balls. No time for him though. Broly quickly kills Tambourine in a single attack, and then looks at the man who is of course King Piccolo. King Piccolo has wished for his youth back and killed Shenron, mocking Broly for being unable to save his pathetic friend. Despite Broly's imposing presence, he still thinks he can take the young Saiyan. This isn't true though, and Broly is not in the mood to be mocked. He kills Piccolo with ease, not before the Demon King is able to spit up an egg before succumbing to his injuries though. This leads to a period of depression for Broly where he goes into isolation, feeling like a failure for letting Chi-Chi be killed and having no way to revive her. It's a 3-year-long isolation, but eventually Kami enters Broly's mind and tells him that Chi-Chi is alive and well. Broly doesn't believe him, but Kami explains that he's the one who created the Dragon Balls, and Master Roshi did everything within his power to revive his student. That's right, during the 3-year time skip, Roshi trains with Master Karin and Ten Shinhan so he would be strong enough to journey to Kami's lookout using the power pole that Broly had left at the tournament. He then pleaded with Kami to restore Shenron, and Kami eventually gives in, knowing they'll need everyone they can get for the reincarnation of the Demon King Piccolo. Kami tells Broly that if he wishes to see his companions again, he should enter the tournament and defeat Piccolo Jr. Broly agrees without a second thought. So everyone reunites at the tournament. Roshi, Chi-Chi, and even Bulma, who helped Roshi track the Dragon Balls, were there. Ten Shinhan showed up as well, having left Karin's tower after Roshi did and training under Kami while Roshi searched for the Dragon Balls. Everyone is happy to be reunited, but it's short-lived for Broly, who gets chills down his spine. A presence unlike any he's ever felt before was shaking him to his core. It's none other than Piccolo Jr., who tapped into his own potential while training for 3 years, a sole goal of surpassing Broly in mind. In Broly's isolation and depression, he was very introspective and became more attuned with the world around him. Through his own natural talent, he learned to sense ki, which was useful. However, he might even be weaker than he was at the last tournament since he wasn't training or eating properly. Piccolo might actually end up being an issue for the young Saiyan. Roshi is the first to be eliminated from the main cast, leaving Piccolo, Broly, Chi-Chi, and Ten Shinhan in the semi-finals. Chi-Chi trained to be a good rival for Broly, but he was still able to beat her. This was by far the closest fight he ever had though, and he is proud of his friend. Ten Shinhan is equally impressive, but is simply no match for a Piccolo that prepared to fight Ikari Broly. This leaves us with Broly versus Piccolo as the final match of the tournament. Piccolo had tried his best to prepare for the power of Broly in his Ikari form, but he fell considerably short of that goal. However, it was clear to Piccolo that this Broly didn't have that power. Without it, Broly stood no chance. Just to be clear, Dragon Ball characters get stronger based on their goals. Think of the Saiyan Saga as a clear example of this. Human characters doing Goku's training from the arc prior exceed Raditz just because he's the goal they want to overcome. Piccolo is enjoying the pummeling, but eventually he tells Broly
Go
that
away,
it's time for him
mortal.
to die. This was a pathetic display, even more pathetic than his friend's death. That was the wrong thing to say. Broly's power begins to spike, and he transforms into the Ikari form once again. Even with a weaker base form, this is more than enough to beat Piccolo. After being declared the winner of the tournament, Broly doesn't stop there, since his rage doesn't subside, and he kills the Demon King once and for all. With Piccolo killed, his ki begins to fade, but at the same time, Broly can feel another power disappearing. Kami's ki begins to fade as he dies as well. Seemingly out of nowhere, Mr. Popo appears in front of Broly. He introduces himself as the attendant of God and tells Broly what Kami's final wish was. He wanted Broly to take over as the god of Earth. However, Broly doesn't want that position and instead recommends Master Roshi. The immortal Grand Master of martial arts is a far better candidate for the position of God than a man who can't control his own selfish rage. With Roshi being stronger than in the original series and by extension rivaling the power Kami had before his death, Popo actually agrees that Roshi makes sense as the new god of Earth. Roshi is humbled by the offer and graciously accepts, seeing himself as better suited to help the world this way and perhaps even become more virtuous like his students. So Roshi hops on Popo's magic carpet, but before they fly to the lookout, Popo tells Broly and Chi-Chi that with Kami gone, the Dragon Balls will remain stone unless someone like Kami can reactivate them. Roshi will not be able to fulfill that role. With all that said and done, everyone goes their separate ways. Broly and Chi-Chi decide to train together back at Mount Paozu, so they build a home and spend the next 4 years training together. Meanwhile, Vegeta, Nappa, and Raditz are conquering a planet together for Frieza. But once they're done, Vegeta tells the other two to turn off their scouters so Frieza's men can't listen in on them. He tells the other two that he picked this planet to conquer on purpose, as it's close to a fairly worthless planet called Earth. As a boy, Vegeta's father told him a story as a way to teach him. A story about how to handle disobedient underlings. He told Vegeta of the execution of Paragus and the exile of Broly. Vegeta didn't care much for the story at the time, but it could be good for them to have another Saiyan on their side in the fight against Frieza that will inevitably come. So Vegeta tells Raditz to go retrieve Broly from Earth. The planet should be long since conquered by now, so it should be an easy enough task. So after a year of travel, Raditz arrives on Earth to find that it hasn't been conquered yet. Even more surprising, there are 2 high power levels near each other, so Raditz instantly flies over to investigate. When he arrives on Mount Paozu, Broly and Chi-Chi were already alerted to his presence while he flew over. Raditz is about to ask Broly why he hasn't conquered this planet, but decides to drop it for now. Raditz instead tells Broly about the Saiyan race, their destruction, and how the remaining Saiyans work under Frieza, a tyrant that they need Broly's help to overthrow. Despite Raditz trying to gain Broly's sympathy and trust, Broly rejects the offer, saying to Raditz that so long as Frieza isn't coming to Earth, he couldn't care less about going into space to kill someone he's never met. He wants to enjoy his life, not waste it fighting other people's battles. Raditz snickers and informs Broly that this isn't a choice, quickly moving behind Chi-Chi and grabbing her. He tells Broly if he doesn't join them, the woman dies. Raditz laughs and tells them not to resist. Power levels over 500 may be good for this planet, but they just aren't enough to beat him. What Raditz didn't know is that Broly and Chi-Chi could suppress their power. His scouter begins to go off as he looks at Chi-Chi, who's freed herself from his grasp. Her power level is rising, reaching all the way to 1700 before stopping. Now Raditz realizes just how outclassed he is. Raditz nervously laughs as Chi-Chi says he shouldn't look down on her. She begins to battle Raditz, though a battle isn't a fair way to describe how one-sided this encounter is. Before she can deliver the final blow, Raditz tells Chi-Chi and Broly that there's no way they'd be a match for his Saiyan companions. The other two are far stronger than himself and will be on this planet soon after his death. Chi-Chi doesn't want to hear it though, and she finishes him off. Before the two can discuss what to do now, Roshi enters their minds using telepathy that he gained from becoming Kami. He tells the two to come to the lookout, and they agree. Roshi says that he's spoken with King Kai, a god above himself, and learned that the Saiyans are truly as strong as Raditz made them out to be. He tells the two not to worry though, since they have an ace up their sleeve. The Saiyans don't believe in training, and even if they did, their year will be spent traveling to Earth. This means a year of training can be done to prepare for the arrival, and even more than that, they have the Room of Spirit and Time. As it is now, the room can only be used twice in someone's lifetime, so it's best to only use it once just in case they ever need it again. With this, they'll have 2 years total to train, while the Saiyans have absolutely nothing. Both Broly and Chi-Chi accept the offer and begin to train in the Time Chamber. While they're inside, Roshi contacts Tenshinhan, tells him of the threat, and says that he will use the Room of Spirit and Time as well, with Roshi as his training partner. Once the year passes, it it's time for the Saiyans to arrive. Thanks to Roshi's communication with King Kai, they know the exact time the Saiyans will land, so Broly and Chi-Chi head over to a wasteland in order to face them. And Shinron is about to follow them, but Roshi stops him, saying that those two are the best chances right now. If Broly and Chi-Chi fail, Roshi and Shinron will have to use the time chamber again and hope it'll be enough. Shinron hates this feeling of helplessness, but he knows it's for the best, so he agrees to stay behind. In the wasteland, Vegeta and Nappa waste no time facing Broly and Chi-Chi. Vegeta scoffs and tells Broly that he has no interest in him anymore. A power level of only 1700 would be no help against Frieza. But Vegeta was wrong on two fronts. He assumes that Broly's power hasn't grown in a year, and he thinks Raditz's scouter transmitted Broly's power level, not Chi-Chi's. Vegeta tells Nappa to handle the Earth Woman. He wants to face Broly himself to show him the true power of a Saiyan elite. Nappa agrees and the two pairs face off, but as the battle begins, Vegeta and Nappa are given the shock of their lives. Broly and Chi-Chi power up. Chi-Chi's power level settles around 10,000, while Broly's power level settles at 18,000. Equal to Vegeta's, but that might not actually be Broly's power. He may be hiding Nappa but stupidly prepares to fight, while Vegeta is enraged to find Broly is a match for himself. Nappa tries his best to fight back against Chi-Chi, but he's just no match for her. She shows him no mercy and ends the Saiyan's life. She has no interest in sparing space pirates who want to take over an empire for their own evil schemes. Vegeta tells Broly that he is indeed strong, but the removal of his tail is a fatal mistake he won't live to regret. So, at the cost of some of his own power, Vegeta creates an artificial moon and transforms into an Ozaru. The 10 times boost more than makes up for the loss of base power, and Vegeta thinks this is the guaranteed victory he's been looking for. That's what Broly begins to rise as well. The base power he was holding back isn't enough to close the gap on its own, but there was something boiling just below the surface, a transformation. In the 4-year time skip, Broly learns to tap into the Ikari form as will, and in the time chamber he mastered it. With this, he has the power of an Ozaru without the lumbering movements and without needing to lower his base power to create an artificial moon. With no difficulty, Broly is able to remove Vegeta's tail and beat him into submission. But he doesn't kill him. He doesn't want to let himself succumb to his emotions. He doesn't want to be enveloped by rage and depression. Chi-Chi tells Broly to end it already, but he just can't bring himself to do it. Vegeta is pitiful, weak by comparison, and more importantly, he's afraid. Not afraid of Broly, not afraid of dying, but he's afraid of something beyond the scale of the boat. No, not something, someone. Broly takes the incapacitated Vegeta back to Capital Corp, hoping that Bulma can keep him alive for now. She puts Vegeta in a special facility that should be enough to contain him, at least while his power is lowered due to injury. While Vegeta is healing, Broly takes the time to talk to him, asking him about the things Vegeta fears. Vegeta tells Broly that death in battle is the Saiyan way, so dying has never been an issue. Dying before you can take down Frieza, though, that is truly frightening. Broly is taken aback that someone strong enough to scare Vegeta exists. Vegeta tells Broly his belief that Frieza was involved in Saiyan fiction, even though he has slain them all. His pride in the Saiyan is hinged on him getting revenge, or at least a Saiyan getting it for him. Broly has a lot to take in, but Vegeta realizes he might have made a mistake here. Where his scouter is, Broly points to the execution. It was prepared by Bulma a while back. Vegeta quickly blasts the device, but it's too late. Vegeta's plans for insurrection were just broadcast to Frieza's top men. It's only a matter of time before they find where he is and come to take him out. Based on Frieza's last known location, it should take him at least 2 years to get to Earth. It might be a stretch. They don't have much time to prepare. Broly asks if Vegeta is willing to work together to defeat Frieza, and though he doesn't want to admit it, working with Broly is his best chance. That was all Roshi needed to hear. He sends Popo over with Master Karin and gives Vegeta a sentence, instantly restoring his full command with a boost. With Vegeta healed, Broly tells him they need to train to become and even though he doesn't want to admit it, Vegeta realizes training is probably a good thing. Chi-Chi is about to join them, but Roshi says that he has a better way for her to train. He takes the human warrior to Snake Way and even sends Ten Shinhan with her. The two will be training with King Kai to master his new technique. The Kai told Roshi that Broly's transformation wouldn't mix well with it, so he better stay on Earth. Vegeta, on the other hand, is just someone he doesn't want on his planet. So Chi-Chi and Ten Shinhan begin the journey on Snake Snake Way, while Vegeta and Broly train at Capsule Corp. Under Vegeta's direction, Bulma builds a gravity room with her father for the Saiyans to train in. This, along with the bag of Senzu beans, should allow them to gain plenty of Zenkai boosts and be more prepared than ever for Frieza. So, 2 years pass. Vegeta and Broly make their way out to a wasteland and await Frieza's arrival. Broly wonders where Chi-Chi and Tenshinhan are, but Vegeta telepathically tells Broly not to worry, they're on Snake Way and should be there shortly. Maybe an hour at most, considering their new time speeds. When Frieza lands, his men line up in front of him. A premonition stirred in his mind, so he brought all the men he could for this fight. At the front are the foot soldiers. Behind them are Zarbon, Dodoria, and Kui. Behind them are the Ginyu Force, which leaves us with Frieza at the back line. Broly and Vegeta make quick work of the foot soldiers. Zarbon, Dodoria, and Kui are nothing to them either. The Ginyu Force puts up the best fight, but are ultimately defeated, leaving no one but Frieza to face the Saiyans. Frieza is annoyed to lose so many good soldiers, but if they can't beat some lousy Saiyans, then they aren't worth keeping around. Frieza has an advanced scouter and can see that the two are sitting at power levels of 500,000. Not surprising, considering how strong Goku got in only 6 days of gravity training on his way to Namek. They're still both weak in his first form, but just to be safe, Frieza decides to show them his concealed power, unleashing his second form. This is more than enough to fight Broly and Vegeta at the same time, but the two still smirk in defiance. Vegeta asks if Frieza thinks he's the only one with a transformation here. Frieza quickly looks around for a moon, but doesn't see one, and even if there was one, they don't have tails. Vegeta is clearly bluffing, right? No. Vegeta and Broly begin to power up, both transforming into their Ikari forms. That's right, even Vegeta was able to learn how to use the power of the Ozaru in his base form. This was far beyond anything Frieza expected. His scouter breaks from the power reading, so he quickly turns into his final form, the only form that was beyond his scouter as well. The two Saiyans were completely shocked. Frieza was now at a power level of 60 million and could easily toy with both Broly and Vegeta at the same time. They had foolishly used all